I'm Mick Miller, Walla Walla Public School Superintendent, and welcome to the Pulse for November. Hope you had a great October, and wanted to remind people this is the first time that you've seen the Pulse, or if you've forgotten one of the past Pulse episodes, please check our YouTube page. Last year we focused on all of our schools and did videos at each one. We'd love for you to look back and see and learn more about Walla Walla Public Schools. This year we've been focusing more on those departments that support the learning that goes on in schools, and today we're going to talk about our personnel department. But first, wanted to just give a big thank you to so many members in our community, as well as staff and administration at Walla Walla High School that participated in Big Blue Weekend, the first weekend in October. What an incredible success. The folks that went tell me it was the best Big Blue Weekend that we've ever had. So for those 375 students, what an experience created by our staff and by our community. So thank you so much for your support. Also, with it being November now, it's getting chillier. It's been cold these last few weeks, and we know that the weather's going to become even more inclement. Keep an eye out for school closures. We hope to not have any delays or closures, but our website is the best place to go to get information on potential school delays. So make wwps.org your first stop in the morning. Also, this month, you're going to be hearing a recommendation from our calendar committee, or the board will be hearing a recommendation for our calendar committee for the 2014, 15, 15, 16 school years. Those are just around the corner. So be watching for that information. Well, we're excited to talk with you today about our personnel department. So let's meet Laure. I'm with Assistant Superintendent Laure Quaresma. And Laure, you said this is your 29th year in the school district. What jobs have you had in Walla Walla?
Well, I've had PE at K-12. I've had teacher mentor for the entire district. Taught classroom instruction, taught at the high school, taught at the middle school, principal at middle school and elementary. So
you got a lot of responsibility, or a lot of things that have prepared you for this job.
I think so.
Either that or you can't hold a job. One of the two.
I like to think it's
the former rather than the latter. Well, you know, you're in charge of the personnel department, and a big part of personnel is hiring folks. And we had a big hiring season this year. I think we hired like 75 new staff.
Yes, that was our biggest.
And who's involved in all that, in the hiring?
Well, I've got to talk about my staff out here. Liz Campo really specializes in the classified area. Margie does all our processing of certification, and that's a very tricky area. No longer do you just get a teaching certificate, you need to get an endorsement. And that's complicated. Megan is the one who goes in and checks that certification and makes sure that we're hiring and everybody is.
And that's all audited?
Yes, it's all audited. So
it's not like someone just comes in off the street, we interview them and hire them.
Right.
There's a great deal that goes into this.
Right, and the screening process, it's all electronic now. People go in and apply. We screen it, and then the idea is we don't interview until we've done referencing and checking to see that they really are highly qualified.
Very good. Now, once people are hired, we have an extensive training program in Walla Walla, but now the state has a new evaluation system for teachers and principals called TPEP, and you've been responsible for implementing that in Walla Walla. What is TPEP? What is that?
Well, TPEP stands for Teacher Principal Evaluation Process.
Okay.
When we got on board 2 years ago, it was Teacher Principal Evaluation Pilot. So we piloted
the pilot's
for the
become
state.
the project.
Yeah, it's now the process. Yes, and it's statewide. The 2 years that we piloted gave us an opportunity to get on top of it. I feel like right now we've got all staff on board. And everybody is getting the same training, the same communication. The principals are being trained. We're working on inter-rater reliability, which is essentially that if both you and I were watching an instruction,
same lesson,
that we would see it the same and have, our rating of people would be the same.
Now, how is it different than the old system?
The old system, I like to use this idea, it's of a ladder. If you have a rung on the ladder, you can either be below or above. That's it. And if you're below, you can move up. But if you're above, you're there, and there's no place to go. So the new one is a four point.
Like a four-rung ladder.
And basically, you're going to slide in, but there's always a way to move up. And it keeps going because you get to a distinguished, which can change depending on what you're working on. So it's a growth model. And the idea is you give people feedback, just like you give students feedback. And the idea is that there's targets that they can meet. And people like feedback. Everybody wants feedback.
And in terms of implementation in Walla Walla, this has been done, I mean, your office has taken the lead, but you've had a number of people working with you as part of this process. Who helped kind of roll this out?
Okay. Well, we knew that you needed to work hand in hand with our association. So we got our president, Margot Piver, on board immediately. And then we asked for representation from every building in the district. So there is someone at every building who has the expertise that has been part of the process as we've rolled it out and had a voice.
And you mentioned Walla Walla Valley Education Association. That's one of our largest bargaining groups. So is Public School Employees of Washington. And your office works very closely with both those bargaining groups. Talk a little bit about the relationship and how you've tried to foster that relationship over the last few years.
Putting the trainings together and going to trainings together and really talking about what is it we want for our staff and what do we want for our students via our staff. If we keep that as our focus and then we have conversations, it's not us against them, these are our employees.
Right.
So we've been talking about how do we benefit our employees to help them be better, be stronger, and again, the overall impact is good instruction for students.
Good.
And it's all conversation, you know. We don't always agree on everything, but we can agree to disagree, and it's very congenial. We are all after the same thing.
Great. And like I said, in this whole process, the goal is growth, is teacher growth and employee growth.
Right. You know, the state criteria, we use what's called the Danielson framework, which the state allowed us to look at 3 different ones. And we picked Danielson partly because we liked the research base, but as we looked at it with our teachers, that's the one that spoke to us. The training's pretty extensive. The idea, though, is that the state also has criteria, and the Danielson framework fits into that. And we're responsible for rating numerically teachers on these state criteria. The Danielson framework gives us verbiage. It gives us words that specifically talk about what you're doing, here's what it looked like, here's maybe what you can do differently. And that's what we really like. That's growth instead of, you know, check marks or plus or minus. It's language. That's what speaks to people.
Very good. Well, it's an extensive process. Thank you so much for helping us get that off and running, and we're doing really well in Walla Walla, and appreciate your work in that.
Okay. Thank you.
I sure appreciate Laure and all the work that's done in the personnel department. Just a reminder for folks that November 5th is Election Day. 3 board seats are on that ballot. We really hope that you vote not just in this election, but in every general election. Also, on November 11th, Veterans Day will be honored by the school district. Prior to November 11th, various schools will have Veterans Day assemblies. If you live in one of those neighborhoods and would like to see a wonderful way that we mark our love of our country, please stop by a Veterans Day assembly. They're truly outstanding. On November 13th, we have our first Patrons Tour of the year. This year, we will be touring Bernie Elementary School, Lincoln High School, and Walla Walla High School. We'd love to have you be part of that tour. Please contact the Walla Walla School District at 527-3000, and we'll get you on board for a Patrons Tour. It's really worth your while. Please consider taking the time to do so. Also this month, our Facilities Committee, Citizens Facilities Committee, will be making a recommendation to our Board of Directors about how to address the facility issues at Walla Walla High School. Now, surveys are telling us that over 80% of our community are saying we need facility upgrades at Walla Walla High School. We're just trying to find what is the best way to address those facility needs. So please be watching as we look forward to a bond election sometime in the future. So be watching for the Facilities Committee report. And then lastly, we just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and know that after Thanksgiving, boy, Christmas and that holiday season is just around the corner. So thank you for taking time to watch the Pulse today and for your ongoing support of Walla Walla Public Schools.